Well, good afternoon. Here I am on the Red Deer River up by the Rosewood Resort. Just got on the river here and I'm going to paddle down to the Garrington Bridge. It's about a 30-kilometer paddle and the water has come up quite a bit with the rain, so it should be fairly fast paddle. I haven't done this stretch of river before, so it should be just gorgeous. The day is absolutely fantastic. This is Burnt Timber Creek that comes in here. As you can see, it must have got some rain because it's running muddy and a little bit high compared to what it usually does, so there must have been some good rain upriver. There's the red deer right over there, and we're going to be on it in about a few seconds. Couldn't ask for a better day for a paddle downriver. Things to be aware of out here is the sweepers. As you can see, there's one up there hanging out over the river. Those ones aren't too bad, but there's ones that hang into the river in sharp bends and areas where the current will take the canoe. You always have to be aware of that, and they can immediately flip you, and then you're in the river. And your canoe could be tied up. You could be swept under the sweeper and hung up there. So you always want to stay clear of all sweepers as much as you can, and be aware of the speed you're traveling as you're going downriver, because that'll make a difference in your ability to navigate. Oh, but this is absolutely glorious. Too bad the water's dirty today due to that runoff. Usually this water runs a lot clearer. But that's all right. We'll see how it goes here. A little bit of a wind coming upriver, but that's usually the case when you're on a river and the current's creating its own wind. Nothing that's too serious right now. Got about 100 pounds of ballast in the front of the boat there to keep the bow down, keep the canoe more stable. Get all 18 feet of it in the water there for managing quick turns and any other navigation that I need to do going forward. Paddling these rivers is one of the most serene and beautiful things a person could do, get connected to nature. You can't beat being out here. As long as you have the skills and confidence to do what you can, and you can't go wrong. So it's always about caution and carrying the safety gear that you need in the boat, always wearing a life jacket. Protect yourself from the sun, sunscreen, pads, and UV protection that I use, like this shirt I have on. I'm paddling an 18/6 Sea Clipper canoe, which is a fast canoe that has a great payload, as we do a lot of backcountry canoe tripping, Bowen Lakes, Desolation Sound, the Broken Islands, Clearwater Azure, and many more that we'll be doing in the future that I will try to record and make sure everybody gets to see what we're doing. But this is just a spectacular day today, and so beautiful. I just checking the GPS here. Running about a 5-minute kilometer pace, which is amazing, which is going to make this a fairly fast trip downriver. 30 kilometers to go. It's going to be beautiful. Whenever you're paddling a river and you see something ahead that you don't like the looks of, don't risk going into something unknown. Always stop, pull into a backhead, get out, scout. If it's a set of rapids or a sharp corner with the sweepers in it, look for a route or a line you can follow through that. concerns you to make sure that you're not putting yourself in any kind of extreme danger. So you do not want to get into those situations. You always err on the side of caution. You can't go wrong. Not sure what kind of wildlife we're going to see today. Beautiful day like today. Might find some deer along the riverbank, maybe the odd moose or elk. Bear would be nice to see as well. I don't know. We'll see what happens. A little bit of a wave train here, but you just hug her to the left here, and you can pretty well miss most of it. According to all the reports I read, this section of river is done quite a bit by kayakers, rafters, canoers. There's a nice paddle from Sundre down to the Garrington Bridge. And if you want to go further, you go right into where the reservoir is off the Dixon Dam. That's about double the distance what we're doing today, but I might do that another day. We'll see. Right now I'm just going to enjoy this gorgeous stretch of river down to the Garrington Bridge. You see an obstruction like that wave there, that shows you there's either a rock or a log or something in the water. You definitely want to avoid that, or you could get hung up on. Looks like it was a log. It's coming into the town of Sundre with the RV park on the left there. There's the bridge showing up now that crosses the Red Deer River here. And the sweeper to be aware of there. Higher water, there's a lot of braided channels. But with the water levels at this level, it really doesn't matter which channel you take, they all got water, and then we just got to be aware of trying to pick the best channel for the current and depth. And also you don't want to get into one that's a back channel and it's plugged up with logs or whatever else. And two things to be wary of there is you paddle a river that's higher up in levels. Even with this higher water, I've noticed that my paddles at bottom a few times. So there'd definitely be a route finding a paddle if it was lower water to make sure you always stayed in the channels. See the currents just roaring along here. That's where you want to be, is just on the outside edge of this. Just stay out of the waves. You don't have to work too hard. The current can guide you around a lot of things just by the way it pushes against obstruction. It creates a wave that'll push you away from the obstruction if you get it on the right angle. sharp turns, corners like that. You can see the waves taking along the shore there. Yeah, you got to watch all these obstructions in the river. It looks like fresh trees that come down in higher water. Change everything around the river itself. You see two braids coming together here. You can kind of just pick your way right down the middle. I call it the V. Nothing too serious there to worry about. Well, we picked up speed here now, and we're doing a 4-minute kilometer. Wow, at this rate. It won't be too long to get to the Garrington Bridge. I calculated the 3 hours or less. It'll definitely be that. So that's pretty good. This current's really helping. You can see how the current goes into that log. Definitely want to stay out of there. Stay to the right as much as you can. If you get swept into that, probably going to go over. All kinds of things could go wrong. The river just splits right here and goes into a braid off to the right. I'm sticking with the left. Looks like the channel to be in. Bit of a sweeper there you got to avoid, dig a little bit and get out, away from it. These braids really probably wouldn't be here in lower water, and you definitely know where the channel is. Now you can almost take any braid as long as it looks like you're not going to get hung up on logs or shallow water. Kind of nice going down these braids when you're moving like this, nice and close to the banks. Just got to be aware of what's around the next corner, making sure you're not going to get into trouble in any way. Like that tree that's overhanging the river there, you got to be careful you don't get swept into that. Bit of a wave train there, make things exciting. You almost feel like you're in the wilderness here instead of passing through farmland that the Red River paddles through. You never know. Banks and the quietness, no buildings, no fields. You are in wilderness when you're on this river, which is fantastic. It starts in the Rocky Mountains, almost back towards Lake Louise, and then comes this way, heads to the Atlantic Ocean. Hard to believe, but it does. Voyagers back in the 1800s looking for fur to trap and trade with the Indians. They would come up some of these rivers in their big Voyager canoes. Would have been a time in history for Canada for sure. Amazing. Definitely want to avoid that with that big hole in there. A bit tricky there with two channels coming together, some big boils in there. You want to be ready to brace with that paddle. Just hold her steady. That's a big old tree that's about to get into the river after a little bit more high water eroding the bank away. Get these heavy rains, we call it atmospheric rivers now, that dump inches and inches of water. And really creates havoc with these rivers. Something over there in the water, but I'm not sure what that is. That just looks like a fender off a vehicle. An old vehicle. Actually looks like the front of a canoe. Yikes. Somebody didn't make it through a log jam or something, lost the canoe. River seems to be getting a bit more volume of water in it as we continue downstream. All the tributaries that are coming into it are adding to the growth of it. Which is nice. Still moving along at a kilometer. We're making really good time. A river like this is ever changing due to the erosion that is carried out along its banks during high water. Trees that get pulled down, more bank that gets washed away. It's amazing how nature takes its own course and keeps changing the beauty of what it's already created. Lots of obstructions in the water to be aware of at all times. You can see the current going up against all these logs and mini log jams just waiting to play in. Big old bald eagle. You gotta watch your channel where you can make your way through some of this stuff. Whew. Just on the edge there. There's that bald eagle flying around up there. Beautiful birds. Based on the number of obstructions in the water here, I'm probably not on the main channel. Not that it really matters too much because we seem to have lots of water. It's just watching all these obstructions you gotta be wary of, like the one coming up here. Nice big wave in there, I don't want to get into that. courses. That's what this is, one big obstacle course. A little bit hairy back there. Couldn't quite get around that sharp corner to stay in a little bit of a channel there. The main channel cut right into that wall. The huge standing waves there, and there was a log that would have forced it right into those waves. I saw it at the last, headed out onto that gravel bar, which wasn't much of a eddy, but at least I got out there and then worked the canoe around. Got back in and everything's good. Those are the things you got to be prepared for, watching out for when you're running these rivers, especially with this much volume in them. Well, you can see the river coming down here. Not a really sharp bend, but goes into this bend here against this big bank, and it goes along. And the waves start building up along that left side. And as you can see, as you get down a little further, it starts to curl out. And then you get into some pretty big standing waves that you definitely don't want to get into. And you want to stay to the right of that. So your plan would be to start up river here. You start coming into this bend, start coming towards the right side of the channel. And then you start missing that wave train that starts to form out there, and you just go along the right side. And you'll actually miss all the waves there, unless you want some excitement, but it isn't worth the risk sometimes. Well, you can see the river widening out quite a bit now. Still just beautiful. Seems to be less obstructions as well as we get further down river here in the water. Channel seems to be more not so braided, although there is, you know, higher water, there's definitely braiding. This has actually just been a great battle so far. Just great. Well, there we are, the Garrington Bridge. Just a fantastic paddle. High water made it definitely a lot more interesting. Can't wait to do it again when the water is crystal clear and blue and not so risky with the obstructions and other things. This was a great battle, just fantastic. Okay, that was a great little journey down the Red Deer River from the Rosewood Resort just outside of Sundre down to the Garrington Bridge, which is in the background. To sum it up, it was fantastic. I mean, high water, a little bit trickier than it should be. You got to keep your wits about you, constantly be on the alert for sweepers, channels, some boils, standing waves on some of the corners. But you're in pretty well wilderness all the way down. Never saw another thing other than a couple of golden eagles, a blue heron, some ducks, and a few other bits of wildlife. Nothing big though, no big game. But what a fantastic day. Can't wait to run this river again when it's lower and cleaner. Just fantastic. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and enjoy more of my outdoor paddling and hiking adventures. Thank you for watching.